Anybody, please? Hello.
Okay. So, sir, I have like muted everyone. So, what I'm doing is I'm giving everyone the privilege to unmute themselves. So,
Please, है ना?
initially, what I've done,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So, I'm
that
doing that.
we can have an interactive session once we are discussing. Then,
Sure. So,
okay.
now everyone can unmute themselves and speak. So, this privilege
Please.
is there. Okay.
Please, you just see. Actually, I want that when we are just discussing something, so it should be an interactive one. So actually, this is on the basis of the previous lecture. So you might be knowing about a storage based and runoff river. Can anybody tell me what is the difference between them?
Is continuous. You can produce electricity, hydroelectricity continuously, but river based you can only when water is available, all runoff on rivers.
Yes, actually, there is a small difference. The generation can be continuous in both the cases, whether it is a runoff or a storage based. But in runoff, you can generate more power during monsoon period when you had a lot of water, and and generation is reduced considerably when there is in winter and summer. But in case of a high storage base, you had a lot of water stored upstream of the dam. So you can have the same generation throughout the year. That is a difference. It means in case of runoff scheme, you have a lot of water wasted during monsoon. If you are not utilizing, you cannot store. That is a difference between storage and runoff. Is it right?
Yes. Yes.
Now there is one more concept of grid connected and isolated projects. Can you tell me any difference about these two one? Anybody can unmute and tell me so that others will be benefited by your answer? Okay, if nobody is answering, then I can answer it. Actually, the grid connected is you generate the power and supply to the grid. And in case of a isolated, you had a very small projects of 100 kilowatt, 200 kilowatt, very small capacity to meet the local area demand. So the problem in the isolated is they are used when you need the power to consume. Otherwise, they will be otherwise they will be in close position, because if you are not generating the power, okay, if you are not consuming the power, you cannot generate, because we don't have any storage system with us. If there is a demand, only then you can generate. So in case of a grid connected, because a demand is available from the J&K to Kanyakumari, our grid is same. So wherever there is a need of power, it can flow from top to bottom, anywhere. So in a grid, all the time the demand is there. So those projects are so those are called grid connected. And in isolated, because for the isolated area, you need to generate power to meet the local demand. Now, one question arises in case of isolated project to meet a local demand. So you know that we know that the generation in our the project depends upon the discharge availability, and in the stream maximum discharge is available during monsoon and minimum discharge is available during winter. So it means the maximum generation is during monsoon. Am I right? On runoff river?
Dr. Singhal, sorry to interrupt, but your screen is not visible properly.
Okay, is it all right
Yeah,
now?
yes, now it is correct, sir.
Okay, so now just tell me if in case of isolated, the generation will be more during monsoon. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay. So during winter, when your demand, when your generation reduces considerably, so we don't have alternate source of energy. So, hello.
Yes, sir.
Huh.
Yes, sir.
I think there is some disturbance. Maybe after the answer, if it is better to mute yourself. Is it right? Okay. Uh, so, uh, okay. So now, so for the grid connect, so in case of a isolated project, okay, so because the generation is very less during winter, so these projects are designed for higher dependability, means so for a discharge which is available for during winter, only we plan these, that's why the capacity of these projects is very small, because we want that from these projects we should get the generation continuously throughout the year, because you know that in the isolated in the remote areas they don't get the alternative source of energy. So in one of the case, we developed a project on the basis of the discharge available during monsoon. It was two machines of 15 kilowatt each. During the winter, during the one winter and summer, what happened? The discharge reduced to only half, generating only 15 kilowatt. So that was a Sai Polo project in Arunachal, Uttarakhand. They could not. So now the villagers could not decide which who will get the power. So they closed the project. Discharge was there, but because they could not decide who will get the power from generation, so they stopped generating from that project. So that's why in remote areas we go for the minimum discharge available. And so one more thing, we always develop a project on perennial stream, means where the discharge is available continuously throughout the year, and we develop isolated projects on a very minimum discharge that we can guarantee that this discharge is available continuously throughout this discharge or more. So it means a lot of water is wasted in isolated project, because during monsoon the discharge could be as high as 5 times of the winter or summer discharge, but we are utilizing only very small portion. So a lot of potential is wasted in remote. And generally it has been seen that if you plan a project for the discharge which is available 6 months in a year, the discharge which is available, if you plan the project on that one, so that is the optimum generation, means the generation at least at the minimum cost. Now, so this is a the second category, and now this is the third category of the project, which are called the canal based project. Actually, you just see this is a fall available on irrigation canal. Our irrigation canal system, whether they are in India or whether they are in UP or Bihar, every canal has a fall at regular interval. Somebody may think, oh, why these falls are necessary to provide in irrigation system. The problem is, why can't we make our canal at the so that no fall is available, because at the fall water falls from higher some height. Okay, so you need a permanent structure so that it does not erode away our bed, does not damage bed and banks. So earlier we don't when earlier we were not using these falls for our power generation. Somewhere I had used the water mills are provided at these falls, but otherwise these falls are just are just provided in the irrigation system. Actually, in the irrigation system, the slope of the canal is very mild, means around 1 meter the slope in the bed in 5 kilometer or 10 kilometer length, almost horizontal. But our natural ground has a steeper slope. What happens? We just, when irrigation system we develop, we just plan on the, we just make a channel by filling it. So when the filling height keeps on increasing, so if the filling is 2 to 3 meter, then it is managed. After that, we just provide a drop in the bed, so that so that we go 2 meter down. So basically, we get a fall of 4 to 5 meter. It is mandatory because of the ground slope available there, and that fall earlier was unutilized because earlier we were not having the machines to develop this fall for power generation. Now these falls are being utilized for power generation. Our center is involved in development of 21 projects on canal falls in Bihar. Now these are the three typical different type of the projects. Any question here? So that person can unmute and ask me. Otherwise, I'm going ahead further. Now,
Sir,
yes,
sir,
please.
so what type of turbines will be suitable for this extremely low head, say 3 to 5 meters only will be the head, right? So
Yes,
what will be
this,
the type? Yeah.
yes, actually this is Kaplan turbine or axial flow turbine. Actually, we had three broad category of the turbines. One is the Pelton turbine, that is called high head turbines. The second category is Francis turbine. Those are called medium head turbines.
Yeah.
And at very low head, we had axial flow turbine or Kaplan turbines.
Okay, fine.
Is right?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Welcome. So now after this one, so now we start the modeling part. So modeling, when we start is a modeling of the civil works, and then the modeling of electromechanical works. Now the components of the civil works is the diversion. So this is to divert the water for power generation. We just provide this structure across the stream. Then when the water is diverted, it carries the silt with it. And so there is a channel, intake channel and power channel. Both channels modeling are same, except that when we had an intake channel, that channel carries the silt, so we require a slightly higher velocity. After that one, we remove the silt from the flowing water in the desilting tank. Then silt-free water start flowing in the channel that we call a power channel. So at the end of the power channel, either we have a 4-way tank or a surge tank. From there, we have a pipe that we call a penstock. That pipe carries the water for power generation, and that so power the water is carried up to the powerhouse where we had our electromechanical equipments, turbine. Upstream of turbine, we provide a valve that that can close the turbine passage. Then turbine shaft is connected with the generator, so which generate the electricity. And then we have a governor. Actually, when the turbine speed increases or decreases, okay, so our governor sense that one. If the turbine speed decreases, if the person from electrical engineering might be knowing that when a generation, when the demand increases in the grid, so frequency gets down. Okay, so so it means our the speed is decreasing. So our governor will try to match meet that demand by opening the passage for the water to flow to the turbine. Vice versa, if some load in the grid gets closed or is off, means our generation is more in the system, consumption is less, so frequency increases. Our governor sense that also. So signal is that the discharge which is coming to the project is higher. So what to do to close the opening? So with the help of the gate, governor closes that opening. And the limiting conditions will be when that there was a blackout recently in Mumbai. Could be the reason that the frequency was very high or very low. Then and because we can just meet the range of plus minus 0.5 percent frequency increase or decrease in the system. If it is more, then our the system starts closing, uh, first coming out from the grid to save our equipment, and that is called a tripping condition. In blackout, it means every project connected to that area is to trip out. For that purpose, that if there is no load, it means the generator. So whatever the power is there in the system, initially the power is your hydropower, water power. That water power is converted through our turbine in mechanical power. So if suppose there is a 10 megawatt system, water power, so equivalent mechanical power 10 megawatt will be generated from the turbine. Then this 10 megawatt, when it is connected to the generator, that 10 megawatt is connected to the electrical load, so that is converted into electricity. For example, if the demand in the system, suppose our machines are of 10 megawatt and we had two machines of 5 megawatt each. Our demand earlier is 10 megawatt because it is generating 10 megawatt. Now, when our one of the feeder is closed, say 5 megawatt project is closed. So it means the generation is 10 megawatt and consumption is only 5 megawatt. So this unbalance is a mechanical power remaining because electrical power will be corresponding to meet the load only. So this mechanical power of 5 megawatt is available. What it will do? It will increase the rotation of shaft. So that increase in so that is sensed by our governor, and that governor will send a signal that close the opening. So the signal will go to our gates. They start closing. In case of a tripping of the system, so it is a feedback system. Our governor keeps on sensing, because if it has closed 50% opening, but if the load is not consumed in the in case of a tripping, continuously signal will keep on going that even then the speed is more, even then the speed is more. So keeps on so keeps on going the signal that even close the system. Finally, the our turbines will be closed completely. So this is our total components of civil works and electromechanical works. Mechanical component has come a turbine and a gate. Any question regarding these components? If you have, then unmute and ask. If not, okay, I continue. So now I had reached to the modeling part. So what happens? I had shown in this figure the storage, so that we call a 4-way. Then a penstock, that is so that carries the water from the 4-way for power generation. Now this is our turbine, which is which is converting hydraulic power into mechanical power. With this turbine, I'm connecting a generator to generate the power. Now, this is a complete control scheme which I had discussed that upstream of turbine we had a valve. The generator turbine. So with the turbine, generator is connected. Generator is connected with the electrical load in the system, and the speed of turbine is sensed to governor, and it keeps on making the speed as per requirement so that it matches. So our always a concept is whatever the load is available, only that much power will be generated by our turbine. Now, because the starting is our, so we come one by one, the component, the first component in our, so first I will discuss the modeling of our the mechanical component that start with a gate. Basically, the gate actually in the gate we are having the gate opening. So there is a concept of full load and no load. No load means the gate, because when your system is closed, no power is being generated. Okay, so if you start opening your the system, so as you open the gate, it will not generate the power. First, the turbines are to be rotated at their rated RPM. The RPM of large size axial flow turbine could be in the range of 100 to 200 RPM round per minute. For our the medium head turbine of Francis or so, the RPM could be 750 or so. For our high head machine, the RPM could be in the range of 1500. So as you start opening our the gate, so the speed, there two phenomena will occur. Number one, initially our machines are also closed at 0 RPM. Initially our pipe, in the penstoke pipe also water is not flowing at 0 velocity. As you open the gate, what happens? Water will start flowing. So suppose the final velocity generally in the penstoke we keep in the order of 3 to 4 meter per second. Okay, the velocity initially is 0. It will take some time to reach the velocity from 0 to 3 meter per second. Similarly, it will similarly our turbine will take some time in making the RPM of the turbine from 0 to 300 RPM, 500 RPM, whatever are the rated RPM. So the system of the penstoke will reach to the rated speed maybe in 3 to 4 seconds, but but our machine will take some time in developing a rated RPM. So now when there are two conditions of gate, one is the opening of the gate with no load, means at no load means whatever the power is being generated is consumed in meeting the losses, because a very heavy equipment you are having in the form of turbines. So mechanical parts, runner blades, very heavy runner blades, if you might have seen somewhere our machines. So, and those runner blades are rotating at 300 RPM or 750 RPM. So they require some energy. So whatever the energy is available, that is consumed in losses in running our blades on rated RPM. So there is no balance power remaining to generate electricity. That is called no load condition. So I had shown in this the sketch a no load condition. Then when this our machine, suppose there is 10 megawatt machine, so at no load the machine is generating zero power. At full load machine is generating 10 megawatt, but you just see the maximum gate opening, because this is generally at 94% of the opening. So really the opening of the gate is 5% to 15%, but our actual gate opening is 5% to 50, say 85%, and but the real gate opening we can say at no load is 0, at full load is 1. So basically this ideal gate opening is used for modeling in the system. So now I had shown in this one the modeling of the gate. So basically this is a ratio of actual gate opening divided by full gate opening, G bar. G bar. A small G bar represents the ideal gate opening. So the relation between ideal gate opening and real gate opening I had shown in this equation with the relation called AT. So initially G bar means ideal power is 0. So but there is some opening really G no load. At full gate opening, the so ideally it is full gate open, but actually 5 to 6% is remaining, that they just leave it for to make some efficiency corrections in the system. So that the difference is this 1 minus 0. So with this one we can calculate the relation between no load and full load. So this is hello. Yes, please. Any discussions? Hello. So this is our basically gate opening, modeling of the gate opening, relating the ideal gate opening with actual gate opening. Now, so this I had shown in the figure also. Now, when we reach to the modeling of our turbine, so basically we need to know about 2 points. Number is water starting time. The time because immediately the velocity of the water will not be to the rated one. It takes some time. That is called water starting time. Now, the second point is the classical transfer function. So we had seen that a very important thing is gate opening. So we want to correlate that corresponding to the gate opening, if we can find out what is the power is being generated. So this ratio is our classical transfer function of our turbine. Now, with respect to the water starting time, so basically which we had seen, it is a time taken by the water in the penstoke to reach to the rated velocity. Depending upon the land, if land is more, it should take more time. Divided by our rated head. This is not a gross head. This is rated head. So you might be knowing the difference between a rated head and gross head. So gross head is the total, the potential energy head available for power generation. When the flow takes place in the system, it has some 5 to 10% losses in flowing. That is mainly is a friction loss. So to take so gross head minus losses is the head available for power generation. So this is that one. So this gives us the water starting time, and this water starting time is related with our, so the transfer function of our hydraulic turbine will be this one. This delta PM is the change in the power output. Delta G is the change in gate opening. and this is 1 minus TW we had already calculated, and this is S is a Laplace operator. So this relation gives us the relation between the power output and a gate opening. Now, so the minimum and maximum limit is minus 20 to 1.0. I had shown in this figure that initially it is consuming the power. So when it reaches to here, it starts generating. So so it starts generating. So the generation has started. If the starting time is 4 seconds, so roughly after 50% of the water starting time, it had started generating power. But rated power of 10 megawatt will reach after some time. So this curve shows that one. Now we just have a modeling of our governor. Governor, I told you that is sensing the speed and sending a signal for the opening of the gate. So basically, you know that with the governor, we are providing a group characteristics, means so you know that if there is a it is by sensing a change in speed to 4 to 5%. So it gives the signal to the turbine to go 100% opening at 5% speed change. Why it is so? You know that because if suppose there is a variation in the system by 5%, does it means that there is a fault in the system? Because if suppose 100% change in the speed will take maybe after 20 minutes. So we cannot say that if the speed is going to 0, only then the signal for 0 full closing of the gate should go. Because by sensing 5% change means there is a major fault in the system. That's why the speed has gone to 5% down or 5% up. So just like a blackout. So immediately the gate should get closed. It has emergency has arisen. So this is called again the transfer function is the change in speed upon change in gate opening. So change in speed is 5% and change in gate opening is 100%. So it is so this ratio is called the transfer function of our governor. Now this is I had shown the modeling of generator. In modeling of generator, basically this is a torque which is available for our which increase or decrease the speed of our generator. So Tm is the torque, mechanical torque, which is developed by shaft of our turbine. T is the electromagnetic torque, which has been developed, which is the consumption by the load. Difference is the balance torque, which is available for the generator shaft. If just see this this equation explains clearly. If the generated power is more, the electrical torque is more than the mechanical torque, so our speed will decrease. Similarly, if you have an unbalanced torque, our speed will increase. That will be sensed. So this torque, the balanced torque is related with our this is J is the combined moment of inertia. So with this equation, Wn is the RPM of our generator, and with these equations, I had shown that the inertia constant H is the stored energy of our generator. This is VA base. Actually, this is VA base is the base of our the power the project. We compare the because we just compare the grid as one. So all the projects, if are compared with respect to the VABS, we can say that we compare say on 100 megawatt system. So the contribution of 10 kilowatt will be much less, and the contribution of the project with 100 megawatt will be one, and the contribution for the stability of grid by a 1000 megawatt, just like TD project, it is so it is 1000 megawatt, 4 machines of 250 kilowatt each, to 50 megawatt each. It will be much more. So we always compare with the contribution with respect to the base power. So this is there. So with this inertia constant, now with these equations we had developed that uh, the the mechanical starting time. So it is because in the initially we had discussed the water starting time, that was for the water available in our penstock. Now we are talking about the mechanical starting time. This is the time required for our total system to reach to the rated RPM. So it is related with inertia constant 2h by this relation. Now, in terms of the system studies, we can have the damping, so damping effect, and this shows our modeling of our generator, and modeling of our generator can be, this is a torque which is available from the turbine. This is a torque which is this is in the electromagnetic torque. Balance is this one, which shows the change in the speed of our generator. So this is our a combined total our system. You just see start with the gate opening. This is gate opening is our G bar. We had a relation of 80. 80 is the relation between the actual gate opening and ideal gate opening. Ideal gate opening is this one. This U bar upon G bar is the velocity upon gate opening ratio related with the power head available. This is H0 bar. So difference of this one is the head available power generation. Now this is a transfer function of our turbine. Now from this one we just subtract our the no load conditions, the parameter, and it will give us the generated power, and finally the rated torque which is available from our turbine, from our generator. Now if we see the relations which is written here, this we had discussed. This is a relation generating relating our ideal gate opening with our the full gate opening, this ideal gate opening with the actual gate opening. This is a parameter which is relating our water starting time. This is a parameter which is relating the turbine rating with the base MVA, and the velocity generated in the system is related with the gate opening with this relation. AT we know we had calculated from here. GNL we know this is the gate opening at no load. Then H0 we know is the head available power generation, and this is initially we had discussed that our actual gate opening, it is just see around 60% of the gate opening as per this example is for not generating any power, and at 96% gate opening we are generating full power. And now this is a water starting time in this example was 1 second. So this is of so these modeling concept have been used for our this modeling of the electromechanical components of our hydropower projects. So any question, or after that we will move the modeling of our civil components. If you have any question, please unmute and ask, or I continue to modeling of our civil components?
Sir, I asked a question to you.
Yes, please.
For the modeling of this component, there is any software required to make the model?
Actually, you just see when we go for the simulation, okay, where we had a MATLAB is available with us. We
Yes,
can
sir.
develop our hydro this our the model for our project in MATLAB, and you know that you can see the systems working. You know, in the afternoon I will just show you a digital simulator is there in our office. That is a that simulates all the components of our hydropower
Yes.
project. Okay, and you
Okay.
know that it is just like if anybody is from hydropower project, so a control room which is there in the hydropower project, the same type of the feeling is available in our the simulator room, where we are having all panels as such as if it is a control room of some project, and everything is simulated. Is it okay? So that we can do in MATLAB and other packages.
Yes. Yes. Thanks.
Then I'm going for a modeling over SailWorks. So again, all these concepts which we had discussed here, so have been modeled. Okay, so starting from the trench weir, this the diversion, the channel, the desilting tank, the four-way tank, penstoke, tunnel, and powerhouse. All these components which are required for our civil, I had so these are modeled. Starting with trench weir. The trench weir, because we are going, so trench weir basically is the water flowing in the river, and the trench is you are making a trench in the bed of our channel. So the water falls down here, and water is taken in a chamber, and from there the channel. So this, so in a trench weir basically we just provide a trench from the one end to other end of our the project. But the problem is what should be the width of the channel, and what should be the depth of the what is the width of the trench, and what should be the depth of the trench. That is the main consideration for our the modeling. So what we did, we had seen that the width of the trench is related with the discharge, then a length of the trench, and this is a component, this is a relation which is called specific energy. So basically specific energy is the is related to the water depth available at the bottom of at the top of trench. So now so basically our width of the trench is related with our the discharge and length by this relation. And what we did, because you know our center is a apex center by declared by our MNRE, where most of the projects which are there for our the funding by MNRE, they are sent to us for our review. So we had a lot of the projects where we are having a actual capacity and actual length, width, and depth of the trenches which have been designed and provided. So what we did, so we had calculated that parameter which has been shown there. Uh, that is a parameter in previous slide is 2 to the power 2 by 3, and this is the discharge divided by length. That parameter and having a power of 2 by 3 has been used here, and we calculated that parameter, and the area provided at the trench. Okay, so width and depth, so this parameter, so we had calculated these two parameters from all these 10 projects. Then we just developed a relation between these two. We found out that this relation, if it is there, so it has a very good correlation also. You might be seeing all these 10 projects, these two parameters are giving a very good relation. And so so these are the this gives us our the top width and this parameter. Okay. And this the second relation we developed with the discharge and area. Again, correlation is that much high, you can just see. So by using, because this gives us a area of the trench required, and this gives us the top width. So both the because length, I told you that we are providing across the full width of the river. Depth, so depth we are top width we are calculating from this relation, and area we are calculating. So depth we can get from this relation. So just by these relations we can find out what is the relation between all three dimensions of that trench weir. So that is used for our the relation for our trench. And now, because in the afternoon I will give you a case study where all these models which have been used for the hydropower projects have been utilized to find out a optimum layout of our project. So everybody will be having these relations with you, because you will get the soft copy of our all presentation. So all these relations can be utilized by you to have a feeling of a total, because you know the we are having a data of almost 10 projects to correlate everything. So maybe whatever output we are getting will be very close to the final results which we are going to get when we go for detailed analysis, design and everything of that project. So now for a big size project, because this trench generally we provide for a small project of 5 megawatt. This barrage we provide, we are designing this barrage, providing this barrage at one project in Arunachal Pradesh of 16 megawatt. So there what we do, that we just provide a gates across the full width of the river, and during flood all these gates are opened, but normally these gates are closed so that water is stored upstream of these gates, which is used for power generation. Now for our this small hydro projects, some peaking is allowed for 2 to 3 hours, as the peaking is for so this peaking we use if suppose our discharge is very less. So you know that for the machines which we provide in our project, you know that as the number of machines increases, the cost of our powerhouse building housing those machines will increase. Cost of electromechanical work will increase. If we have a single machine of 10 megawatt, if we compare this single machine of 10 megawatt with two machines of 5 megawatt each, although the cost of 5 megawatt single machine will will cost much less than single machine of 10 megawatt, but it is not half, because you need a controls for two machines 2 times. So generally the cost of one machine, cost of two machines with total same rating is 25, 30 or 40% higher. So you can think of why don't we provide all the time once they are costing high. So why can't we merge two machines in one machine and provide a single machine? Actually, the problem is the single machine, number one, single machine, when suppose there is fault in the system, then the machine will be under maintenance. So when the machines are under maintenance, our the generation from the projects become zero. But if because every year we provide a capital maintenance. Capital maintenance is generally 3 to 5 years, but any annual maintenance we provide annual. It is annually it is to provide it. So during maintenance we have to close machine. So what we do when we have two machines, so when during the winter our discharge is less, one machine is running only. Other machine can be made under maintenance. So without losing power, we can schedule our maintenance. So that is one advantage, that during maintenance our generation will not be zero. It is keep on generating something. The second thing is our machines have a cutoff limit. If a 10 mega, if suppose our discharge required for our project is 10 cubic, so our Francis turbine will not run less than 40% of the discharge. Means if our discharge in the system is 3.5 cubic, which is generally there during summer or winter, the generation will be zero, because that is coming in cutoff range of our machines. But if our machines are of half rating, their cutoff limit will go further down. So even the discharge is available 3.5, our machines will be generating full power, that machine. Third point, if 10 megawatt machine is generating 10 megawatt, its efficiency we take 85%. But if our machine is generating 5 megawatt, because of less discharge available in the system or less demand, then its efficiency will be only 75%. Means same discharge, smaller machine, smaller rating machine will generate 10% higher generation. So for that one, this, if you provide a barrage for 2 to 3 hours peaking, so what we do, we can close our machines for some time. We store the water upstream of the barrage gates and store the water for 2 to 3 hour peaking and generate the power in during these peaking hours. Maybe peaking hours you will get more revenue, number one. Number two, you can generate 10% extra power, because if the discharge is less, machine will generate 10% less power because of the less efficiency at part. So for that one, what I had done, again, these are the 9 projects were there. I had shown the peaking also, and area of the barrage, height of the gate multiplied by the width. So I had seen that there is a relation between the unit peaking. Means if I divide the area by peaking, so I got this value, and then I just draw a curve which has a correlation factor of 85%, and I got this relation. So with this one, if all the barrages which are having a variable peaking ranges also can be designed with this one. So with the discharge which you are having and area per unit peaking you will get from this curve, and after that, because area you are getting from this curve. So if you divide the area by the width of the stream, so you will get the height of the barrage also. So this gives you a complete sizes, because I had later on correlated the sizes of each component with the cost, so that I can finally discuss with all of you a optimized layout for our projects with the help of this modeling. Now this is a channel, and channel is actually always designed with the help of a managed equation using this one. So I had developed a curve on the basis of managed equation. So by using this curve, you can have width and depth of the channel, and for optimized section, we always provide the width as twice of the depth. Now we reach to the surge tank. Actually, this is a component which absorb the surges being developed in the system. From where the surge will come. Actually, what happens when the machines in the project is closed suddenly? So it builds up a pressure upstream of the closing membrane, means gate. That pressure, if it is higher, so it can be 50% higher than the normal pressure. So it means the water level in the reservoir will go high, and all these the system will have to be designed for higher pressure. So for that purpose, we provide a surge tank. So what happens, that surge wave or pressure wave travels through and it reaches so it increases the height of our water level in our surge tank. Similarly, vice versa means when you just open the gates, so the water should come from the system to meet the additional requirement of the water with the turbine. So if a reservoir is too far away, it will take, you just see, maximum velocity in the system is around 3 meters per second. So you just see how maybe it takes an hour to reach from forebay to machines with this a small velocity of 3 meters per second. So now if a tank is available very close by to our system, so that can meet our that demand. The water level in the tank, the surge tank can go a little down till it is the water is available from our reservoir, and till that this water is supplied by, basically for our machines we had two reservoirs. So now in this one the critical components is what is the diameter of our tank and what is the height of the tank. Diameter is this, height is this. So what I did, I had modeled, because a relation which is available for the area of the surge tank or diameter of surge tank is a discharge, a length of the tunnel upstream, and net head available. So this gives the depth of our surge tank, and all these parameters are already known to us because we know the discharge available, we know the length of the length available, we know the head. So directly it gives the depth of the surge tank, and height of the surge tank can be correlated directly with the square root of the h. So again, what I did modeled, I was having 8 projects of the parameter where the surge tank details were available. So I had calculated these parameters and developed a relation of this one having a correlation of 78%. Actually, this correlation tells us that data, you know that if this correlation should be around 70% or higher. If we are getting a correlation less than that one, so we will remove the extremes so that we can, so whatever the data which is correlated, that is being used for this purpose. And this will give you the height of the surge tank. So after getting a dimensions, so I will show you later on, we had developed the models for our the cost estimation also, which I will show you here. Now this relation will give you the diameter and height, and the models which I had developed for the cost also I will show you that already directly the optimized layout we can select. And similarly for the powerhouse, what I did, I had just the data which was available. So I had correlated that all 3 dimensions of the powerhouse. So this is, and then I checked that the length, width, and height are varying -9% to +9% of all all these projects, -8 to +8, -6 to +6, to just see if we are so sure about the projects. So we will be sure enough for the cost. We will sure enough for our the sizes which we are taking for our, actually, you know, when we are comparing 2 layouts, we need to know what is the very close approximate. If suppose two layouts are very close to each other, so precise calculations of everything is required to find out the best layout. Now again, now I will discuss these two components. This is the optimized design of our penstock. Actually, this next two components which I will show you. This is this optimized design penstock is developed by me. So generally, all the models for the design of penstocks were available on the basis of this friction loss, which is there in the system when the water flows through the penstock. So what they do, they just optimize so that the friction loss are minimum. You know that if you decrease the size of the pipe, so friction loss increases, but cost also friction loss increases, but cost decreases. But you are having a revenue loss. Vice versa, if you increase the size of the penstock, your losses decreases, but your cost of the penstock increases. So you have to come out with the optimized one. So all the most of the formula which was used as per IS code was this one. The diameter, if you calculate from this one, it will you will get a optimized diameter of our pipe. So with this one you have a it is not a minimum friction loss. Minimum friction loss means you keep on increasing the diameter of pipe, friction loss keeps on decreasing. So it is a optimized friction loss. Means if you so if you increase friction or decrease friction loss, so your the cost of the system will increase. So it is optimized one. I observed that this is not the only parameter which should be considered, because there are a lot of, I had just see in this table, I had shown a friction loss here and other losses are here. Total loss is this one. So just see, total losses are 2 to 3 up to 5 times of our friction loss. So the concept of designing penstock only with the help of friction loss is not correct. What I did, I developed the correlation between a total loss and friction loss, and I observed that this is our this is the relation which I am getting. So I had used this relation in a penstock cost, total penstock cost, and after that minimizing, differentiating, I just reached this conclusion that the diameter of penstock should be calculated by taking this parameter which we have correlated with total loss and friction loss, because that formula I had correlated with, because with the length of the pipe and head available, because total loss and friction loss was not available earlier. Then I thought that this is not available. So what to do? But gross height and penstock length was available. So I developed a relation between these two on the basis of data available. And then this formula we developed, and then just this table shows that by using this one, we will have a reduction. Just see, cost saving. I had shown the amount saved by using a revised formula, and the cost of the penstock reduced by this one. Similarly, I developed a relation for the desilting tank. You know that all the formulas which were available, they are considering only the middle portion of the tank. But the on upstream side and on downstream side, a long transitions are required so that no eddies are formed in the system. But no, and the formula which were used were not having this correlation used. So what I did, I just used this correlation, taking a surface area of the central portion and transition portions also, and minimizing this one, then develop these relations of length, width, and depth. These relations I had compared. You just see with the published document, and I found that the ratio of efficiency of the desilting tank, you just see, has increased from 1.02 is up to 5 times, and surface area has reduced by this one. So these two things are developed by myself, and then I had compared the surface area of this one almost this is surface area of the published document, and this is surface area by the by published one, lower. And but major contribution was the efficiency. All throughout, efficiency was 90%. In the formula which we had proposed, surface area is either reduced or same, but efficiency has increased considerably. Just see, if the efficiency of system is only 50%, what to do? It means the silt which was available in your system, 50% of the silt is still remaining. Then what is the purpose? So with these formulas, so after that, similar exercise. So this completes our the modeling of civil works. Any questions, or should I go further? If anybody is having any question, then he can let me know by unmuting, or we go ahead. Okay, I think there is no question. Okay, because you will get the soft copy of this one. So you know that if you have any question later on also, everybody will be having the email address of the coordinators, my email address there. Okay, so we can have a interaction later on also. Now, after developing so many correlations models, so what I did after that, I developed the correlations for our cost also. You know that why I'm what is the objective? Because you know that finally is the minimum generation cost with different layouts. How you go for the hydropower selection, which provides the maximum energy at minimum cost. So if we are sure enough to get the sizes of our system, so we should go after that to find out what is the cost finally. So what I did, and you know, in the cost there was a problem. Number one, uh, I was developing the correlation on the basis of the different projects which were available with us. There were two problems. Number one, they were having they were prepared at different timings. Number two, their because they were in a very remote area, and they were having the cost of the transportation of the materials were different with different projects. So what I did here, so the cost which was cost which was there for so I had on the basis of the year available, so we had developed the cost escalation on the basis of the price index. So price index of these years we had taken into account to find out that if the DPR was of 2012, so it has a higher price index. So rates should be multiplied so that all the cost of these projects may be brought at par. Now the second was a excess. So what I did, we just find out what is the excess of these projects from the roadhead. So you just see the variation was 50 kilometer from roadhead to 308 kilometer. So we developed for various items, we were having the cost. So we just compared this cost and then develop the excess factor correlation, that if it is a project of 50, if the project is at access 50 kilometer, so I had taken base as 1, and which is the remotest one. So on the basis of the cost available, I found out that the excess factor should be around 44%. So the variation of excess factor was up to 44%. These two factors, so I had made a correlation, and I found, just see, it is correlating around 93%. All the data which was available. So with these factors, so I had developed the cost curves of all of trench weir, barrages, because I was having the cost curve of all these structures with me. So I had already calculated in the previous slides the relations for developing the sizes of these structures. So the cost I was having, so the base year cost I had calculated, and after that I just calculated the normalized cost, and then normalized cost was compared with the total the requirement of the material there, and just see 81% correlation I received in case of trench wear. Similarly, length height we are calculated from the our this is the same one which we use for developing a correlation. Now access factor I had calculated. The barrage cost in the normalized cost we calculated by increasing the cost with the in the base year, and then by normalizing it, and then normalized cost has been compared with the total surface area which we developed a relation. So these curves for were developed, cost curve for feeder channel developed, and then cost curve for our desilting tank was developed, having a correlation of 86%. Cost curve for tunnel was developed, having the correlation of 81%. Cost curve for pi was developed. In this one, I had taken the actual cost as per the DPR, because the formula which I developed for penstock was not used at this project. So whatever the cost was available has been used here. And correlation, just see the cost correlation which I got is around 91% in the data. And for the stir shaft, 88%, and for the powerhouse, 77%. Now, similarly, the cost for the E&M works of the projects curves were developed. Now, so on this basis, in the afternoon, we will have a the hands-on the discussion on the case study. Now, I just move to very important correlation, which is a requirement for our hydropower project, because you know that generally the project which we are developing, we are not having a sufficient discharge data. So how to get the discharge data? On the basis of the neighboring project discharge data. So for that one, I will just discuss a regression analysis. If anybody is having the discussions regarding the previous slides, kindly unmute and have. Hello. 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 Is it okay?
Hello. Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Actually, I was not listening the voice of anybody. Everybody is muted. Sometimes I found out only whether others are listening or not. Okay, then.
Yes,
So
sir.
I go.
So, sir.
Okay, I go ahead. Now, so this analysis is very important because we need a long-term discharge data for our hydropower project. But generally, the you know that these are the small streams. Although now the discussion which I am having is the project of 15 megawatt capacity. So this is, but even then it comes in the range of small hydro, which has gone up to 25 megawatt. So as per, because you know that all, so why they are being categorized in small hydro and large hydro. actually a small hydro project get a subsidy from MNRE. So that's why this definition matters. Earlier, the small hydro started with 1 megawatt, then the 3 megawatt. Now it is then 3 megawatt single machine. So we used to have the Halai Pani project with 3 machines of 3 megawatt each, so that that project can qualify for subsidy. Then it is now a 25 megawatt is a limit for small hydro project. And MNRE requires 2 years lean period, consecutive lean period data, means discharge data which covers 2 lean period. Because I told you that in monsoon a lot of discharge is available, but during the lean period discharge reduces. So MNRE so wants that what is the minimum range of the discharge data during lean. It should come, because we know that for these projects are generally designed for our 50% dependable discharges. So so as per the mandatory requirement, so a person developing a DPR, they just get starting observing the discharge at the site for when the project is sanctioned to him, then it is started. So generally only 2 years data is available. But for the project, 2 years is good enough if you are project size capacity is only 4 to 5 megawatt only. But if it is a project of 15 megawatt, then it is you have to be sure enough that whatever you are generating, because all the revenue and other things will come up on the basis of generation only. So you want to sure enough. So surety can't come in 2 years time. So for that one, we need in the different state, there is a different guidelines. In Himachal Pradesh, they say that the discharge data of say 20 years should be available. Somewhere it is, but it is at least 10 years is the minimum requirement. So how to cope up with this requirement of 10 years? So for that purpose, we go for regression analysis. So for this project which I am discussing was having a 2 years. When they start preparing the DPR, so they started observing the data also. And this project was of 15 megawatt. So they were having only 2 years data. So this is a catchment which this project is having. And because the catchment area is 155 square kilometer, a good one. And so now, and they observed this 15 for the discharge at this site for 2 years. Now, how to meet the requirement of say more years, minimum 10 years. So what was done? This is observed data which I am showing you. This is observed data for 1 year. Actually, when we go for our small hydro project, we are not concerned that that the discharge data is from January to December. We just consider only a one hydrological cycle. We can that can start from any month, any year, and having total 12 months. So it becomes a one hydrological cycle comprising of 12 months data. So it was they started observing almost a lean period of June 2012-13, and then continued up to 13-14. 2 years were available. Now the problem was they were required more year data. So they were having a rainfall data of 12 years, and this 12 years was having the discharge the rainfall data of that year also, of 2012-13, for which the discharge data was available. So what was done on the basis of regression analysis? This is the rainfall data. So these are the in the regression analysis, we just develop this parameter. This is a linear relation. So y is equal to ax plus b is the linear relation. Now this relation is being developed having on the basis of method of least square. What they do, so they just develop, suppose one of them is rainfall and another of them is a discharge. So because whatever is to be predicted, discharge is to be predicted. So discharge will be a Y data. And what is available? Rainfall was available. Rainfall is taken as X value. Now we need to find out the coefficient B and a coefficient A and B, so that a linear relation between these two parameters can be find out. So the least square is the minimum error with all data. So if we just have because all the time when we develop a relation, for all those value X is known to us. So X and Y of this data is known to us, because we are having X and Y values available with us for 2 years. So 2 years means we have 10 years, 10 daily discharge data in each year. So every year we are having 36 values. For 2 years, it becomes 72 values. So this is a relation which requires only two set of data, because there are two unknown A and B. So with two set of data, we could have developed this A and this relation. But now, because we are having 72 data, 36 data of 1 year, 36 data of second year. So with 72 data, we want to develop what is the value of A and B. So then method of least square will come. What we'll do, we will with each value of X and Y, we calculate what is the error, and we just differentiate it, so that we just differentiate this error, and we just calculate error, differentiate it. So so whichever that so differentiate means it becomes 0. So on that basis our relations are developed. Those relations are now only two equations are to be solved, where first equation will get by summation of all values of Y. How many values? 36 values of Y. And X is so summation X again by summing all X values of the data. So this relation N is the number of data, that is 72. So first relation will be there. In the second relation, we have to multiply both the parameter and sum. Then we make square of X parameter and sum. And this is a summation of X. So this relation has come from the least square, method of least square. Why we make the error square? Because error could be positive and negative. If we add those errors, so positive, negative, maximum error, minimum, and maximum positive error, maximum negative error will make the error 0. So to avoid this situation, we make the square of error. So every error becomes square up and added, whether it is positive and negative. So by differentiating, so we get these two relations. So and these relations, so only two equations are left us with, and we can, by solving these two equations, we can get the value of A and B and a relation also. That relation can be used to get the unknown values of Y, and the correlation factor between the data X and Y we can calculate by using this relation. So what we did, so this is the value of X and Y and X square which was required of all 72, and they were added together. And with this addition, we got a relation of the Y and X, and correlation was not very good. It was around 61%, but certainly it can be because we were not having any other means to do it. And there is one more thing for a production, because we are having 20 years now, the 10 years data. So we find we just add the now I will discuss this thing a little later. With this one, the percentage, the correlation coefficient was 61%. By using these relations, we had calculated the discharge data of all 10 years. And because we had seen that the production was this has a correlation of 61%. So so what we do, we just sum this data of all 10 years, total discharge available throughout the year. So we just put the every data in descending order, and whichever the discharge is the minimum, last 3 readings are the minimum one. So we pick up one of them called 90% dependable here. So the the correlation which was around 67%. So partly it is covered by taking 90% dependability discharge. So a very important analysis, a regression analysis, so that a discharge data which we require for our hydropower project is available with us. So now we will close our discussions for now here. In the afternoon, we will have our discussions for we will have a hands-on. I will discuss about the case study. I will discuss about a simulator in the afternoon session, and some hands out regarding what the parameter which we discussed for the modeling. So if we had still 2 minutes to go, now at least 2 to 3 questions can be discussed. So now so everybody can unmute, because there is no disturbance now with for anybody, and we can have at least 1 to 2 questions here.
So, sir, why the value y and x is 32? You have told this.
32, not 32. It is 36. It is 72.
72. Why 72, sir?
Number of values of x and number of values y was 72.
How
Yes.
it comes, sir?
It is coming. Actually, what we do, we have it daily discharge observed at our site. We take 10-day average, because so 10-day average means every month 3 values available with us.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Okay. So in a month, so every year it becomes 36. And we were having 2 years discharge data, it becomes 72.
Right.
Any other
Thank
question?
you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, the calculation of the regression analysis, we can use Excel worksheet.
Also, yes, that is there. I think you can show your video also, because we don't have any problem of disturbances now.
Yes.
Yes, please. Whosoever is asking a question, he should just switch on their video also. Yes. What was the question now? Yes, you can do in Excel. It is very easy now. Hello.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's yes. You do actually the problem which I discussed here. You know that we should know what is the concept behind it, because we are developing a correlation directly from on the Excel. How it is coming? It is a regression analysis. All the correlations which I had shown you, okay, it has come from regression analysis, because all the calculations are being performed in Excel on a regression only.
Yes.
Any more question? Okay, then we will meet at 2:30. Is right? Then now we can leave the meeting. Thanks for joining me for our discussions.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. We will meet at 2:30 after the lunch break.